The specter of monopoly, understanding its rise and impact. Monopolies, by definition, represent the antithesis of free market competition. When a single entity controls a market, it can dictate prices, stifle innovation, and limit consumer choice. This concentration of power undermines the fundamental principles of capitalism. The historical context of monopolies reveals a pattern of abuse and exploitation. From the railroad barons of the Gilded Age to the tech giants of today, monopolies have consistently used their power to extract maximum profits at the expense of consumers and competitors. The impact of monopolies extends beyond mere economic considerations. They can also exert significant political influence, shaping regulations and policies to their advantage. This further consolidates their power and erodes democratic processes. The unchecked growth of monopolies can lead to a stagnation of innovation and a decline in the quality of goods and services. Without competition, there is little incentive to improve or offer better options to consumers. This can stifle economic growth and harm consumer welfare. Bypassing the guardrails, the erosion of antitrust laws. Antitrust laws were designed to prevent monopolies and promote competition. However, these laws have been weakened over time, allowing corporations to consolidate and amass market power. This erosion of regulatory oversight has contributed to the current state of concentrated economic control. Lobbying efforts by powerful corporations have played a significant role in weakening antitrust enforcement. Campaign contributions and political pressure have influenced policymakers to relax regulations and create loopholes that benefit large companies at the expense of competition. The revolving door between government regulators and the private sector further exacerbates the problem. Individuals who once enforced antitrust laws often find lucrative employment with the very companies they were supposed to regulate. This creates conflicts of interest and undermines the integrity of the regulatory process. The result is a system where antitrust laws are often ineffective in preventing monopolies and promoting competition. This allows a small number of powerful entities to dominate markets and exert undue influence over the economy. Section 5. Presidential inaction, enabling the growth of monopolies. Several U.S. presidents, through their policies and appointments, have contributed to the growth of monopolies. Deregulation, tax cuts for the wealthy, and lax enforcement of antitrust laws have all created an environment conducive to corporate consolidation. The Reagan administration's emphasis on deregulation and free markets, while intended to stimulate economic growth, also paved the way for increased corporate concentration. This period marked a significant shift towards a more laissez-faire approach to antitrust enforcement. Subsequent administrations, both Republican and Democrat, have continued this trend, often prioritizing economic growth over concerns about market concentration. This bipartisan approach has further solidified the power of large corporations. The result is a system where presidential policies have, intentionally or unintentionally, facilitated the growth of monopolies and the concentration of economic power. This has profound implications for the future of American capitalism. Section 6. Predatory practices, tactics used to force business sales. Wealthy companies often employ predatory tactics to force smaller competitors to sell. These tactics can include price wars, aggressive marketing campaigns, and even frivolous lawsuits designed to drain the resources of smaller businesses. Price wars, while seemingly beneficial to consumers in the short term, can be used to drive smaller competitors out of business. Larger companies with deeper pockets can sustain losses longer, ultimately gaining control of the market. Aggressive marketing campaigns can also be used to overwhelm smaller competitors and capture market share. Large corporations can afford to spend vast sums on advertising and promotion, making it difficult for smaller businesses to compete. Frivolous lawsuits can be a particularly effective tactic for forcing smaller businesses to sell. The legal costs associated with defending against lawsuits can be crippling for smaller companies, even if the lawsuits are ultimately unsuccessful. Section 7. The Marxist mirage, how monopolies mimic centralized control. The concentration of economic power in the hands of a few large corporations creates a system that resembles, in some ways, the centralized control characteristic of Marxist economies. While not strictly Marxist, this concentrated control undermines the principles of free market capitalism. In a Marxist system, the state controls the means of production and distribution. In a system dominated by monopolies, a small number of private entities exert similar control over key sectors of the economy. This centralized control limits competition and consumer choice. The lack of competition in monopolized markets can lead to inefficiencies and stagnation. Without the pressure of competition, there is little incentive to innovate or improve the quality of goods and services. This can stifle economic growth and harm consumer welfare. The concentration of economic power can also lead to political influence and regulatory capture. Monopolies can use their wealth and power to shape policies and regulations to their advantage, further consolidating their control and undermining democratic processes. Section 8. The tax burden and the erosion of living standards. The concentration of wealth and the decline of competition have a direct impact on taxes and the standard of living for the majority of Americans. As wealth becomes concentrated at the top, the tax burden shifts disproportionately onto the middle class and working class. Large corporations often employ sophisticated tax avoidance strategies, minimizing their contributions to public services and infrastructure. This shifts the burden of funding essential services onto individuals and small businesses. The decline of competition in many industries leads to higher prices and lower quality goods and services. This directly impacts the standard of living for consumers, who have fewer choices and pay more for essential goods and services. The erosion of the middle class and the widening gap between the rich and the poor are direct consequences of these economic trends. This growing inequality undermines social cohesion and creates a sense of injustice and resentment. Section 9. Capitalism's facade. Unveiling the true culprit. The current economic system, often described as capitalism, is in reality a distorted version of true free market capitalism. The concentration of wealth, the power of monopolies, and the erosion of competition have created a system that benefits a select few at the expense of the many. It is this distorted system, not capitalism itself, that is responsible for many of the economic problems facing America today. Blaming capitalism for these problems obscures the true culprit and prevents meaningful solutions from being implemented. The narrative that capitalism is inherently flawed is often promoted by those who benefit from the current system. By shifting the blame onto capitalism itself, they deflect attention from their own role in creating and perpetuating the problems. It is essential to distinguish between true free market capitalism and the distorted system that currently exists. Only by understanding the true nature of the problem can we begin to develop effective solutions. Section 10. The illusion of choice. How limited competition affects consumers. The decline of competition in many industries creates the illusion of choice for consumers. While there may appear to be multiple brands and products available, in reality, many of these are owned by the same large corporations. This limits true consumer choice and undermines the benefits of competition. This lack of real choice can lead to higher prices, lower quality goods and services, and less innovation. Without the pressure of competition, companies have little incentive to improve their offerings or cater to consumer demands. The illusion of choice can also make it difficult for consumers to make informed decisions. When multiple brands are owned by the same company, it can be challenging to discern real differences between products and make choices based on quality and value. This lack of transparency and ownership and control further exacerbates the problem. Consumers may be unaware that they are choosing between products offered by the same parent company, limiting their ability to support true competition. Section 11. Reclaiming the narrative. Rethinking the future of capitalism. Reforming the current economic system requires a fundamental shift in thinking and a renewed commitment to the principles of free market capitalism. This includes strengthening antitrust laws, promoting competition, and addressing the concentration of wealth and power. It is essential to challenge the narrative that capitalism is inherently flawed and instead focus on the distortions and abuses that have created the current system. By accurately diagnosing the problem, we can begin to develop effective solutions. This requires a concerted effort from policymakers, regulators, and citizens alike. Strengthening democratic institutions, promoting transparency, and holding powerful corporations accountable are crucial steps towards reclaiming the narrative and shaping a more just and equitable economic future. The future of capitalism depends on our ability to learn from the mistakes of the past and create a system that truly benefits all members of society, not just a select few. This requires a commitment to fairness, competition, and the principles of a free and open market.